Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're reading from the Adi Lila chapter 6 and we are going to be reading from verse 77 onwards. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Teno apna ke karen dasa bhavana Krishna dasa bhava vinu ache kona jana. He also considers himself a servant of Lord Krishna. Indeed, who is there who does not have this conception of being a servant of Lord Krishna? Verse 78. Sahasravadne yenho shesha sankarshana dasa dehadhari kares krishnera sevana. He who is Shesha Sankarshan with his thousands of mouths serves Sri Krishna by assuming 10 forms. Verse 79. Ananta Brahmande Rudra Sada Shivera Amsha Gunavatara Tenho Sarvadeva Avatamsha. Translation. Rudra, who is an expansion of Sadashiv and who appears in the unlimited universes, is also a Gunavatar, qualitative incarnation, and is the ornament of all the demigods in the endless universes. Purport. There are 11 expansions of Rudra or Lord Shiva. They are as follows. Ajay Kapat, Ahi Bradhan, Virupaksha, Raivat, Hara, Bahurupa, Devashrestha, Trayambaka, Savitra, Jayanta, Pinaki, and Aparajita. Besides these expansions, there are 8 forms of Rudra called earth, water, fire, air, sky, the sun, the moon, and Soma Yaji. Generally, all these Rudras have 5 faces, 3 eyes, and 10 arms. Sometimes it is found that Rudra is compared to Brahma and considered a living entity, but when Rudra is explained to be partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is compared to Shesha. Lord Shiva is therefore simultaneously an expansion of Lord Vishnu and in his capacity for annihilating the creation, one of the living entities. As an expansion of Lord Vishnu, he is called Hara. And he is transcendental to the material qualities, but when he is in touch with Tamogun, he appears contaminated by the material modes of nature. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam and Brahma Samhita. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, it is stated that Lord Rudra is always associated with the material nature when she is in the neutral, unmanifested stage. But when the modes of material nature are agitated, he associates with material nature from a distance. In the Brahma Samhita, the relationship between Vishnu and Lord Shiva is compared to that between milk and yogurt. Milk is converted into yogurt by certain additives, but although milk and yogurt have the same ingredients, they have different functions. Similarly, Lord Shiva is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, yet because of his taking part in the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation, he is considered to be changed, like milk converted into yogurt. In the Puranas, it is found that Shiva appears sometimes from the heads of Brahma and sometimes from the head of Vishnu. The annihilator Rudra is born from Sankarshan and the ultimate fire to burn the whole creation. In the Vayu Puran, there is a description of Sadashiv in one of the Vaikuntha planets. That Sadashiv is a direct expansion of Lord Krishna's form for pastimes. It is said that Sadashiv, within brackets Lord Shambhu, is an expansion from the Sadashiv in the Vaikuntha planets, within the brackets Lord Vishnu, and that his consort Mahamaya is an expansion of Rama Devi or Lakshmi. Mahamaya is the origin or birthplace of material nature. Verse 80. Teno karena krishnera dasya pratyasha nirantara kahe Shiva muni Krishna dasa. Translation. He who also desires only to be the servant of Lord Krishna, Sri Sadashiv always says, I am a servant of Lord Krishna. Verse 81. Krishna preme unmatta vihavla digambara Krishna guna lila gaya nache nirantara. Translation: intoxicated by ecstatic love for Lord Krishna, he becomes overwhelmed and incessantly dances without clothing and sings about Lord Krishna's qualities and pastimes. Verse 82. Pita mata guru sakha bhava kene naya Krishna premera swabhave dasya bhava se karaya. Translation: all the emotions, whether those of the father, mother, teacher or friend, are full of sentiments of servitude. That is the nature of love of Krishna. Verse 83. Eka Krishna sarva sevya jagat ishwara ara yata sabha tanra seva sevakanuchara. Lord Krishna, the one master and the Lord of the universe, is worthy of being served by everyone. Indeed, everyone is but a servant of his servants. Sai Krishna avatirnas Chaitanya Ishvara ataiva ara sabha tanhara kinkara. That same Lord Krishna has descended as Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone therefore is his servant. Verse 85. Keha mane kehana mane sab tanra dasa yena mane tara haya say pape nasha. Some accept him whereas others do not, yet everyone is his servant. One who does not accept him, however, will be ruined by his sinful activities. Purport: when a living entity forgets his constitutional position, he prepares himself to be an enjoyer of the material resources. Sometimes he is also misguided by the thought that service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not absolute engagement. In other words, he thinks that there are many other engagements for a living entity besides the service of the Lord. Such a foolish person does not know that in any position he either directly or indirectly engages in activities of service to the Supreme Lord. Actually, if a person does not engage in the service of the Lord, in all inauspicious activities encumber him, because service to the Supreme Lord Chaitanya is the constitutional position of the infinitesimal living entities. Because the living entity is infinitesimal, the allurement of material enjoyment attracts him, and he tries to enjoy matter, forgetting his constitutional position. But when his dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened, he no longer engages in the service of matter, but engages in the service of the Lord. In other words, when one is forgetful of his constitutional position, he appears in the position of the Lord of the material nature. Even at that time, he remains a servant of the Supreme Lord, but in an unqualified or contaminated state. Verse 86. Chaitanyara Das Muni Chaitanyara Das Muni Tanra Dasera Das. I am servant of Lord Chaitanya, a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya and a servant of his servants. Verse 87. Eta Bali Nache Gaya Hunkara Gambhira Kshaneke Vasila Acharya Haina Susthira. Saying this, Advaita Prabhu dances and loudly sings. Then at the next moment, he quietly sits down. Verse 88. Bhakta Bhimana Mula Shri Balarame Sai Bhava Anugata Tanra Amsha Gane. The source of the sentiment of servitude is indeed Lord Balram. The plenary expansions who follow him are all influenced by that ecstasy. Verse 89. Tanra Vatara Eka Shri Sankarshana Bhakta Bali Abhimana Kare Sarvakshana. Lord Sankarshan, who is one of his incarnations, always considers himself a devotee. Verse 90. Tanravatar Ana Shri Yuta Lakshmana Shri Ramera Dasya Tinho Kaila Anukshana. Another of his incarnations, Lakshman, who is very beautiful and opulent, always serves Lord Ram. Verse 91. Sankarshana Avatar Karanabdhi Shai Tanara Hriday Bhakta Bhava Anuyai. Vishnu, who lies on the causal ocean, is an incarnation of Lord Sankarshan, and accordingly the emotion of being a devotee is always present in his heart. Verse 92. Tanhara Prakash Bheda Advaita Acharya Kaya Mano Vakye Tanra Bhakti Sada Karya. Advaita Acharya is a separate expansion of him. He always engages in devotional service with his thoughts, words and actions. Verse 93. Vakya kahe muni chaitanyere anucharat muni tanra bhakta mane bhave nirantara. By his words he declares, I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Thus with his mind he always thinks, I am his devotee. Verse 94. Jala tulsi diya kare kayate sevana bhakti prachariya sabatarila bhuvana. With his body he worshipped the Lord by offering Ganges water and tulsi leaves, and by preaching devotional service he delivered the entire universe. Verse 95. Prithvi dharena ye shesha sankarshan kaya vyuha kari karena krishnera sevana. Shesha Sankarshan, who holds all the planets on his heads, expands himself in different bodies to render service to Lord Krishna. Verse 96. Esaba haya Shri Krishnera avatara nirantara dekhi sabara bhaktira achara. These are all incarnations of Lord Krishna, yet we always find that they act as devotees. Verse 97. Ei sabake shastre kahe bhakta avatara pada upari sabara. The scriptures call them incarnations as devotees, that is, Bhakta Avatar. The position of being such an incarnation is above all others. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in different incarnations, but his appearance in the role of a devotee is more beneficial to the conditioned souls than the other incarnations with all their opulences. Sometimes a conditioned soul is bewildered when he tries to understand the incarnation of Godhead. With full opulence, Lord Krishna appeared and performed many uncommon activities, and some materialists misunderstood him, but in his appearance and as Lord Chaitanya, he did not show much of his opulences, and therefore fewer conditioned souls were bewildered. Misunderstanding the Lord, many fools consider themselves incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the result is that after leaving the material body, they enter the species of jackals. Persons who cannot understand the real significance of an incarnation must attain such lower species of life as punishment. Conditioned souls who are puffed up by the false egoism and who try to become one with the Supreme Lord become Mayavadis. Verse 98. Eka matra amshi Krishna amsha avatar amshi amshe dekhi jeshta kanishta achar. Lord Krishna is the source of all incarnations, and all others are his parts or partial incarnations. We find that the whole and the part behave as superior and inferior. Jeshta bhave amshite haya prabhu jnana kanishta bhave apnate bhakt abhiman. The source of all incarnations has the emotions of a superior when he considers himself the master, and he has the emotions of an inferior when he considers himself a devotee. Purport. A fraction of a particular thing is called a part, and that form which the fraction is distinguished is called the whole. Therefore the fraction or part is included within the whole. The Lord is the whole and the devotee is the part or fractional part. That is the relationship between the Lord and the devotee. There are also gradations of devotees who are calculated as greater or lesser. When a devotee is great, he is called Prabhu, and when he is lesser, he is called Bhakta or a devotee. The supreme whole is Krishna and Baladev, and all Vishnu incarnations are his fractions. I'll repeat, the supreme whole is Krishna and Baladev, and all Vishnu incarnations are his fractions. Lord Krishna is therefore conscious of his superior position, and all Vishnu incarnations are conscious of their positions as devotees. Verse 100. Krishnera samata haite bada bhakta pada atma haite Krishnera bhakta haya premaspada. The position of being a devotee is higher than that of equality with Lord Krishna, for the devotees are dearer to Lord Krishna than his own self. Purport. The conception of oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is inferior to that of eternal service to the Lord because Lord Krishna is more affectionate to devotees than to his personal self. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 4, verse 68, the Lord clearly says, Sadhavo ridyam mahyam, sadhunam ridyam tva aham, mad anyat te na jananti naham tebhyo manag api. So this was from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 4, verse 68, which translates that devotees are my heart and I am the heart of my devotees. My devotees do not know anyone but me. Similarly, I do not know anyone but my devotees. This is the intimate relationship between the Lord and his devotees. Verse 101, Atma haite Krishna bhakte bada kari mane, ihate bahuta shastra vachan pramane. Translation, Lord Krishna considers his devotees greater than himself. In this connection, the scriptures provide an abundance of evidence. Verse 102, Na tatha me priyatama atma yoni na shankaraha na cha sankarshano na shrir naivatma cha yatha bhavan. O Uddhav, neither Brahma nor Shankar nor Sankarshan nor Lakshmi nor even my own self is as dear to me as you. Purport, this text is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, 14th Chapter, verse 15. Verse 103, Krishna samaye nahe tanra madhurya swadana bhakta bhave kare tanra madhurya charvana. The sweetness of Lord Krishna is not to be tasted by those who consider themselves equal to Krishna. It is to be tasted only through the sentiment of servitude. So we'll continue our reading from here onwards next time. As you know, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, most verses are in Bengali, some are taken from Srimad Bhagavatam, some Bhagavad Gita, and I was refraining from reading the verses thinking that I might be mispronouncing them, but then I realized that kind devotees will forgive me because Bengali is not my first language, but I'm trying my best to follow the diacritics, and I've also heard devotees and some friends speaking Bengali, so I try my best to get the correct pronunciation from the net. And some of the verses have only got translation, some have got purport. So if the verse has only got translation, I just read it straight, but if it's got purport, I always say, tell you that I'm going to read the purport of the verse. So thank you for joining. We'll continue with the reading. Hariyam Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.